What if a mother's love wasn't to nurture?
In 1847, on a decaying southern plantation, a widow made a choice so twisted it birthed a curse that still lingers
By
in the
these
shadows.
beads and the shadow they
One man,
cast, I
5
summon
daughters,
the one who waits
a
in the
legacy
dark.
of horror.
In 1847, Willow Creek Plantation was a crumbling empire of cracked columns and overgrown fields, its glory fading like a fever dream. Widow Evelyn Marwood, 48, ruled it with an iron grip and a smile that never reached her eyes. Her husband, a brutal cotton baron, had died in a mysterious fire, leaving Evelyn with 5 daughters: Clara, Beatrice, Lydia, Margaret, and the youngest, sweet Eliza, barely 16. The Marwood name was their only inheritance, and Evelyn was obsessed with its survival. "No weak blood will dilute us," she'd hiss, her voice sharp as a whip. The plantation's enslaved workers whispered of Evelyn's madness. She'd pace the veranda at midnight, muttering to unseen listeners, her shadow stretching like a claw. Her plan, unveiled in a candle-lit parlor to her horrified daughters, was unthinkable. To forge a new bloodline, she'd chosen Silas, the tallest, strongest man she owned. At 6'7", Silas was a quiet giant, his eyes deep with unspoken pain, his back scarred from years of labor. "He's the seed," Evelyn declared, her daughters trembling. "Through him, the Marwoods will rise again." Clara, the eldest at 22, protested, "This is madness, Mother." Evelyn slapped her, the sound echoing like a gunshot. "Madness is letting our name die," she spat. That night, the air grew heavy. The cicadas fell silent, and from the slave quarters, a low, guttural hum began, like a prayer or a warning.
Evelyn's plan wasn't just about lineage, it was about power. She'd been reading forbidden texts, leather-bound tomes smuggled from New Orleans' occult underbelly. They spoke of rituals to bind strength to blood, to cheat death itself. In the plantation's root cellar, lit by dripping black candles, Evelyn performed the first rite. Silas was chained to a stone slab, his wrists bleeding from iron cuffs. The daughters, forced to watch, wept as their mother chanted in a tongue that twisted the air. "Through his strength, yo birth eternity," she intoned, carving symbols into the dirt floor, symbols that pulsed with a sickly red glow. Silas didn't scream. His eyes locked on Eliza, the youngest, who clutched her sister's hands. "This ain't right," he whispered, his voice steady despite the pain. "You wakened something older than us all." Evelyn ignored him, but the air thickened and the candles flared. A shadow moved in the corner, not Silas's, not Evelyn's. It was too tall, too wrong, its edges fraying like torn cloth. By dawn, Clara felt ill, her skin clammy, her dreams filled with whispers. "Give in, become." Beatrice heard footsteps in her room at night, pacing in circles. Lydia swore she saw Silas's shadow outside her window. Impossible, since he was locked away. Margaret, the most defiant, tried to flee but was caught by Evelyn's overseer, a gaunt man whose grin was too wide, like he knew what was coming. The ritual didn't just bind Silas to the daughters, it unleashed something. The plantation began to change. The cotton fields withered, their roots black and oozing. Mirrors cracked when no one touched them, and the hum from the quarters grew louder, a chorus of voices that weren't human. Workers vanished, their cabins left empty save for claw marks gouged into the walls. Silas, confined to the cellar, wasn't himself anymore. His eyes glowed faintly in the dark, and his voice, when he spoke, layered with others.
She called us. Now we feed. Eliza, sneaking down to free him, froze when she saw his shadow stretch across the ceiling, sprouting tendrils like a spider's legs. "Run, girl," he growled, not looking at her. "It's in me now." Evelyn's daughters began to break. Clara, feverish, scratched at her arms until they bled, muttering about eyes in the walls. Beatrice woke with dirt in her mouth, though she'd never left her bed. Lydia saw her reflection smile when she didn't. Margaret, chained in the attic for her rebellion, screamed about a tall thing that whispered her sins. Only Eliza resisted. Her love for Silas, born from stolen glances and shared stories, kept her grounded. But even she felt it, a hunger in her chest, urging her to obey her mother, to join the ritual. Then the first daughter disappeared. Beatrice was gone by morning, her room empty except for a single, impossibly long shadow burned into the floorboards.
The truth unraveled in blood. Evelyn's ritual hadn't just used Silas, it had offered him as a vessel to something ancient, a nameless entity that thrived on control and despair. It wore Silas's form, growing taller, its limbs elongating, its face blurring into a void with too many eyes. The tall man, the workers called it, whispering prayers to ward it off. It wasn't Silas anymore, it was the hunger Evelyn had summoned, feeding on the daughter's fear and the plantation's pain. Clara was next, found in the fields with her eyes gone, her mouth frozen in a scream. Lydia followed, her body dangling from the attic rafters, her shadow twisting on the wall below, alive and writhing. Margaret, broken, joined Evelyn willingly, chanting in that unnatural tongue, her laughter jagged as glass. Eliza, alone now, confronted her mother in the cellar. "What did you do?" she sobbed. Evelyn's eyes were wild, her hands stained with blood. "I made us immortal," she said. "The Marwood name will never die." But the tall man had other plans. It spoke through Silas's body, its voice a chorus of the damned. "You gave me a home. Now I take everything." It lunged for Eliza, its fingers like knives. But Silas's will fought back, his voice breaking through. "Burn it, Eliza! Burn it all!" Eliza, tears streaming, grabbed a lantern and smashed it against the cellar walls. Flames roared, consuming the symbols, the tomes, the chains.
The fire devoured Willow Creek, leaving ash and silence. Eliza escaped, the only survivor. Her skin marked with scars like the symbols Evelyn carved. The official report called it an accident, a tragic blaze. But the workers knew. They whispered of the tall man still lurking in the charred ruins, waiting for new blood to claim. Years later, in 1870, a traveler passing the ruins swore he saw a shadow, impossibly tall, moving against the wind. Locals avoided the land, saying mirrors nearby showed faces that weren't yours. Eliza, now gray and haunted, lived in a distant town, but she never spoke of that night. At night, she'd wake, hearing Silas's voice. "You didn't burn it all." And in 2025, as you watch this, reports surface of a new housing development on the old Willow Creek land. Residents complain of whispers, of shadows too tall for their owners. What if Evelyn's bloodline didn't die? What if the tall man is still hungry? Sleep tight. Check your reflection tonight. It might not be yours.
See you in the shadows.